I wasn't always a strong believer. I grew up in a Catholic family, and I remember always going to church on Sundays with my family. There was one day where we just stopped going to church, and I never really understood why until one day that my mom told me that some members of our church would call me a damnation. They'd call me a curse. They'd call me a sin. And as a little kid, I remembered one incident where a lady came up to me and she grabbed my hand. I have a small hand if you guys don't know. I don't know what she said, but she was saying something about a sin, about a curse. And as a 5-year-old girl, I didn't know what to say. Didn't understand what she was talking about. I didn't really care. When my mom let me know what they were really saying, as a kid, all I wanted to say was sorry. Sorry, I didn't know I was bad. Like, I'm just a 5-year-old girl. Like, I didn't know. That left me with like a bad experience in the church. It made me feel like with a lot of questions, like, why am I a curse and not a blessing? Why, as a 5-year-old girl, somebody that was so loving and happy, why was I treated so bad just because of something I couldn't control? But I always had a bad taste about going to church because I feared that same reaction from people. Usually my whole life, I've usually hide my hand. Hide it behind long sleeves or put my jacket over my hand, because when you walk in public and people stare, or, for example, kids come up to you, which now I'm very comfortable with. But back then, I would always hide it. And then there was a day I had enough. I wasn't going to hide myself based on other people's fear. I started kind of taking baby steps. Like, I joined a boxing gym. That's where I met Jordan. And honestly, that's where I found my power. I met so many amazing coaches that supported me and helped me learn how to do different exercises with one hand. And that's where I found my purpose. I wanted to help other people with disabilities to find their purpose, to feel their potential, and I didn't want them to ever let other people or society tell them what they can do and how far they can go. I went on a retreat for women with disabilities, and it was a Christian retreat. Mind you, I've never read a page in the Bible at this point, and I was still struggling a lot with my faith. But I still did it because I wanted to embed myself in the community of people with disabilities. I wanted to meet more people like me, and I wanted to have that community. I ended up being a mentor for so many young girls with disabilities across the US, and it made me feel, like I had a purpose. They had so many other experiences that I faced when I was younger, and I was able to tell them, like, stay strong, just keep going. I kept reminding them to just show love throughout all the hate, through all the bad experiences. That's when I first heard about Christ healing the man that was blind. In John 9, verse 1 through 12, his disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" And Jesus replied, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned." He said, "But this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him." And that's when I learned that God makes no mistakes. Thank you. I was born how I am, not because of sin or a curse, but because he has a beautiful purpose for me, and I can't get there with 2 hands, something you often cannot say. I was made to experience my struggles and my challenges, to find him, to get to here, to help and love others, to inspire and to change things for the better, to glorify him in everything I do. My whole life thinking I was a sin or I was a curse, and now being reminded that the Lord made me in his image and he crafted me for greatness. And although I know I'm not perfect, I try my best every day to follow him. I do know God has guided me here even when I wasn't following him. And I just want to remind you guys that every flaw that we see in ourselves, God sees it so perfectly. He sees us perfect. He sees us as beautiful. He loves us fully for who we are. And I just want to end it with Psalms chapter 139. "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well." Thank you.